welcome back to the Kentucky History Podcast. I'm your host, Jameson Cable, and we got another great Kentucky history episode here for you today. With me, our guest is Linda Sibley. How you doing?
I'm fine, thank you.
Well, we got a good Kentucky episode about Clay County that we're going to talk about. But before we get into that, tell us a little bit about yourself and your Kentucky connection.
I was born in Manchester, Clay County, and my family come from Bear Branch, Kentucky, and that's real close to Leslie County, but it's in Clay County. And I was raised there till I was about 5 or 6, and then, as many of the families did, we moved to Clermont County, Ohio, so my stepfather could work at the General Motors plant in Norwood, and my mother was a teacher. And but those mountains, you cannot, it's part of your soul. So we would go at least once a month to visit the family and be in the mountains. And then as soon as my parents retired, they went back to the mountains. And so we would spend a lot of time in the mountains as we got older.
hmm Yeah, that's the old saying. If you meet somebody from Kentucky, they have one foot where they're at, and the other foot's pointed back home. I think is how it goes. So,
Yes,
um,
it's in your soul.
yeah. So some information, just brief information about Clay County. Founded in 1807. So one of the fairly older um, counties, was not named after Henry Clay or Cassius Clay, but Cassius Clay's dad, Green Clay. So um, it's in eastern Kentucky. Let's see, it borders. Let's see. You said Leslie, right? Leslie, Perry, Owsley,
Mhm.
um, Laurel, Jackson.
Laurel.
Mm, yeah.
Laurel.
Um,
Mhm.
Bell County and Knox County, I
Yes.
guess. Is
Bell
that
County,
that?
because yes.
Mhm.
Because
Um,
the
so go ahead.
Bell County is very important to Clay County in the fact that most of the family, my family, came from Bell County. They traveled through Bell County, didn't stay there. They traveled through Bell
Mhm,
County from Pikeville to get to Bear Branch, and it's on the Redbird River.
mhm. Yes, and we'll get to a little bit more about Redbird hopefully
Yes.
here in a little bit. So when you're talking about Clay County, and before Europeans even got to Kentucky, what documentation knowledge do we have about people before that?
I do not have a lot of information other than I would say uh, I don't. In the beginning, the Indians really didn't use Kentucky to live in. They used it more to travel through and more to get uh, meat and kill animals and
Mm,
everything because it was a very rich country. Now, my part of the family, I think I'm not sure when the Cumberland Gap came in, maybe 1798, something like that. And my oh, I guess it would be fourth great grandfather, Dylan Asher, was the first toll keeper for
mhm.
Cumberland Gap. And so it
Wow.
was early 1800s when, in fact, I
Mhm.
found some of my people in Clay County in 1801. And so, very early.
Yeah, yeah, um, and when you're looking at Manchester, um, it was. I'm trying to think. It was founded when Clay County became um, a county, like in 1807. Um, but with what year did you say that your did you know when your people got to Clay County? Did you say 1801?
1801, yes. And I
Yeah.
believe it was the Cumberland Gap was 1798. And in fact, my great great uncle, James Farmer Roberts, was the first builder of the original Clay County courthouse.
Oh, cool. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah. So,
And courthouses play a very interesting part in county histories.
mhm.
And I'll go and ask you this: did the courthouse burn in Clay
Yes,
County?
it did. And so they built another one. And then a few years back, and I protested greatly, was because the my grandfather, Virgil Sizemore, was a stonemason, and he helped build the courthouse that was there. And they decided they were going to modernize it, and which I thought that it's on that hill. I thought they should have moved it and kept that as a museum, but they said it was not run down, and so they redid it. But there was a lot of us that protested that and just
Hmm.
give them a lot of aggravation.
Grief, right?
But they did
Oh,
rebuild.
that's well,
I mean, or they did redo,
yeah.
and I have to say it's nice. I mean, and I'm
Mhm,
very proud that they have such a nice courthouse at this time.
mhm. Yeah, yeah. Well, that's always a important question in Kentucky, especially. You know, you don't find too many counties who have a courthouse that was not burned during the Civil War or burned by accident or burned
Mhm.
intentionally at some point. Um, th- there's just not a lot of counties that don't
Yeah.
have that hasn't had multiple courthouses. Um, so and you know, as doing a lot of these county histories, there's a lot of parallels with certain counties. Um, you know, if you go to the bluegrass area, a lot of them, you know, once they're formed, they farmed and so forth. As you head more towards the east, you know, they farmed and coal mined, or they farmed when they had, you know, not in mass quantities, but they farmed. But coal mining was a big thing. And how different, similar is Clay County to that?
That is correct. My stepfather was a coal miner, and that was one reason that in the 50s that he moved, because it was so hard on him. And so many of the family came there because they received land for fighting in the Revolutionary War. And
Mhm.
so when they moved there, they stayed there from the 1800s until basically some moved in the 1880s after the Civil War, but not a lot. And then in World War II, when they came back, those men, they scattered and they went to Michigan to work the plants. And then a lot of them went to Ohio to work in the uh, General Motors plants. And that's
Mhm.
when that really the migration started. But now my family, especially the Ashers and the Robertses, were well to do,
Mhm.
and my uh, great great grandfather Dave W. Roberts, he lived to be 98 years old, and he was healthy till the day he died. What really got him was his oldest son was shot and killed one morning when he was out on the porch brushing his hair, Jimmy, and it was a family member that had killed him, a cousin. And so um, that he just went to his room, and then my uh, great grandfather Henry Boyd was in an accident, so his children, his boys, were dead, and so he just went to his room and he died. And they said to the day he
Oh
died,
wow.
his mind was just as good. But he was very well to do. The Ashers were very well to do. And they kept their money in Pikeville banks until the 30s, and then they lost it all. Like, a lot of the Ashers
Oh.
are in Pikeville, you know. But I find that
Mm-hmm.
interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Now, what about so you said your family came. Did they come off of the Revolutionary War grants as well to
Yes,
get
yes.
land or
Dillard
okay?
Asher, his father
Mhm.
was Captain William Asher. Now he was
Mhm.
frontier, and he fought mostly against the Cherokees and the Troys. And in fact,
Mhm.
there was a Fort Asher, and they burned it down.
Oh.
And something else interesting about William Asher was he was with, uh, was it Selby that signed the declaration or whatever for the state of Tennessee? My William Asher was there, and his name is on the document when Tennessee was made a state.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and
Wow.
so, but
That
the reason I know this is I'm in the DAR, and I was
mhm.
the region, but I am through the DAR. I'm through William Asher, and Dillard Asher. He married a Nancy Davison, and this Nancy
Mhm.
Davis and this is kind of a scandal, but I like scandals once in a while, especially when they're hundreds of years old. You know, uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
Ash met Nancy Davis. Her father,
Mhm.
Richard Davis, was a very wealthy businessman, and he did not fight in the Revolutionary War, but he supplied the equipment for General Washington's uh, war and troops.
Mhm.
And he was given, I joined the DAR through him. But Nancy did not want to go to the frontier without her sister, Sarah. And so they
Mhm.
went. And Dylan had 21 children. He set up a house for Nancy, and he set up a house for Sally. And then he had a couple of children with the Collette family also. So he had 21 children.
Mhm.
So Clay
Wow.
County is full of Dylan Asher's family. But
Yeah, descendants, yeah.
that's interesting, I think. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, 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 and, like well, and it's interesting too, I mean, you find many counties, around the state that will have a prominent name. Sometimes it's a few brothers came in, and that's I mean, that's just how it goes,
yeah,
uh,
yeah.
yeah, so the Ashers, what do you know of any other prominent names, first settlers that kind of took came to the area?
Daniel Davison, I also am through the DAR with him. I worked on him first.
Mhm.
Uh, he was given land, and he settled in the Clay County area. And he was a rifleman with General Morgan's elite
Oh,
Morgan's riflemen.
Raiders.
And the British called them Widowmakers. And I think it's so interesting. General Washington, they went to Kings Mountain, and that's the reason. Of course, they were Virginians at that time. Those Virginians, they weren't going to get involved. Those frontier men, it wasn't their. They
Mhm,
didn't like British, but it wasn't their play. But then
mhm,
the king put that tax on them, and when they put that tax on that moonshine, they all made moonshine. Daniel Davison was Scottish, and it's a prominent name. When I went to Scotland, they said everybody here practically is Davison kin to him. But anyway, they 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 said, well, we're going to go to Kings Mountain. We're going to wipe them out. And sure enough, the documents show
mhm,
that when they went, they dressed like Native Americans, and they went up, and not one person
mhm.
I think they were all killed. I know the general was. But anyway, General
Yeah.
Washington knew he had to have General Morgan and his group because they could take something
Hmm.
like the size of an orange and shoot it. They at a quite a
Yeah.
distance. So when they were at Valley Forge, but he was afraid to let the Morgan's riflemen be too close to his troops because they would not behave. They would not listen. They wouldn't do anything. If they wanted to do it, they'd do it. If they didn't, if they didn't want to do it, they
Yeah.
wouldn't do it. So he put them 3 miles down from where his troops were.
Hmm.
So I find that fascinating. And I see that in my family to this day. Not only the men,
Yeah.
but the women. You know,
um, so they're a little stubborn, is what you're saying, a little bit.
very stubborn, uh, uh, very patriotic. You know,
Uh-huh.
very patriotic. You will see in all the wars, you will see the family.
Yeah.
They fought, but the Markhams, the Robertses, the Sizemores. Now,
Hmm.
the Sizemores, I'm almost afraid to work on, but I've worked on it for a long time. But they George All Sizemore, he really came to Leslie County, but a lot of the Sizemores moved to in the Clay County area, and he was a humdinger and fighter and stuff.
Hmm.
But all those families, they all come in there and they stayed there,
Hmm.
and it was hard when I'm married because I really thought Texas was terrible. I'll never live, I'll never make it because my
Yeah.
husband, we live on the farm that he was raised on.
Uh-huh.
When I first come, he said, it has to be Texas, Linda, but I will take you home often. And when I'd get really homesick, he'd take me to the biggest, highest point in Ellis County. That's the
Hmm.
county I live in. And I said, this is just a pissant mountain, a pissant hill.
Yeah.
And I said, and I would cry. I would
Yeah.
cry. But I was uh, I was a justice of the peace and a coroner.
Hmm.
And when I retired, we would go back because my mother lived to be
Hmm.
96, and she just died last year. So we would go back every summer and stay like 3 months
Hmm.
and work on the farm and visit the family. And my mother was a teacher, very intelligent, and we would do genealogy. And I'm
Oh, yeah.
into really wild plants. I do speaking engagements, in fact, on wild plants and things that
Hmm.
we used,
Yeah.
because family, we were, uh, you know, uh, after they lost their money, our family was poor, but
Hmm.
we had all the food. I never thought of us as poor because we had the food, all the food
Yeah.
and we had the land. So, but yeah, I love to go back and I still can, I do
Uh-huh.
show ways. I
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
show ways.
Yeah. That's, I mean, and that's, yeah, I mean, I don't have nothing against Texas, but it's not Kentucky, so.
It isn't. It isn't. It's very, very. It's very different. But
Uh-huh.
yeah, I just have to go back because I
Yeah.
told Matt. I said, I just there's no place. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
And I've been all over the world. I've traveled everywhere, and I've never found a place as
Mhm.
beautiful as Kentucky.
Yep.
You know.
Yeah.
And another family, they're more in Leslie County, but there's a lot in Clay County. Is my stepfather was a Begleys, and
Mhm.
there's a lot of Begleys in Clay County, and uh, they have kind of similar history that I have. And then they also go back to the Davison line, that Daniel Davison line,
Yeah.
and everything. And there's a lot of Napiers. And the thing about the Napiers is they also there's served in the Revolutionary War and very prominent. and the Bolings. There was a lot of Bolins. I'm kin to the Bolins. So, and my grandmother always said that we were kin to Pocahontas.
Hmm.
So my big project for 2025 and 2026 is to find that. Well, let me tell you, it's drove me crazy. My husband says it's a short drive, but
Yeah.
a
Hmm.
lot of the people in Clay County will tell you we go back to Pocahontas,
Hmm. Hmm.
but I haven't found it yet.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, keep digging. There's got to be an answer somewhere there. Uh,
There's got to be, and everything. But we do know we are kin to Jefferson Davis also through the
okay.
Davis, Richard Davis,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and so, but yeah, it's interesting.
Um, so, well, and bringing up Jefferson Davis, that kind of can lead into the next question. You know, from you know, say 1807 when Clay County was formed, and even before then, you're probably looking at agriculture as the main drive of
Hmm.
economics. But once you get to say Civil War, how was Clay County? Was it a peaceful place that everybody agreed, or was it divided like everywhere else, or
Oh, it
what?
was terrible because James Farmer Roberts, the
Mhm.
one that I told you was a builder,
Yeah.
he was for the South. My uh, great grandfather was for the North, and one of the brothers, Captain's son, we called him, but his name was Captain Jackson Roberts. He was a captain in the what was it, the 47th infantry, whatever the infantry out of Clay County with
Hmm.
with the Gilberts, Gilbert and them. He was a captain, and I'll tell you an interesting story on that. I'm probably talking too much, but
Oh no, you're good.
oh no, Jackson. He his family. He had married a Bagley, and he had a 16-year-old son. And a lot of people don't know it. Ku Klux Klan was big, big, and my stepfather's father was a card carrying Ku Klux Klan member, which just shocked me to death. He still
Mhm.
had his card because he was the most religious and wonderful man I ever met, and
Uh-huh.
everything. But anyway, while he was gone, Jackson, he was in a scrimmage or went somewhere, and he come back, and the Ku Klux Klan had come in and had was all covered up and everything, but
Yeah.
they came and hung his 16-year-old son, hung him.
Oh.
He now this I don't know that this is a true story, but his youngest daughter told this. She said that he told his wife Anna Begley Roberts, gather everything up, and we'll be moving when I get back.
Hmm.
And he left, and he killed every one of those members. I guess they knew
Oh
one or
wow.
two, and then
Uh-huh.
he got the names of the rest. He killed every one of them,
Wow.
and they moved in
Hmm.
the dead of night. But they only went, which I didn't, I thought was fascinating. They only went to, I don't know if it was Harlan County or if it was another
Hmm.
county, but they moved just like two counties over, and I thought that's not a big deal. But you have 55 miles was a lot. But after the war,
Hmm.
he left Kentucky and he went to Madison County, Arkansas. And a
Wow.
lot of the families from Clay, Leslie, Bell, Laurel went to Arkansas.
Hmm.
And Lord have mercy, it's just like Kentucky in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And the people act the same. If they
Uh-huh.
know you, they will give your the shirt off their back. If they don't
Mhm.
know you, we're suspicious because we always were taught they might be revenuers. And
Mhm.
my family all made moonshine. And I have the copper that my stepdaddy used for the moonshine because he said the copper was the most important thing to have a good, you know,
Moon.
good moonshine still. But and I did have the recipe, but I haven't ever made it. But I went. It was the Boston Mountains in Madison County, and I went up there, and there was still people that remembered him, and
Wow.
they said he was a very quiet man, but you
Mhm.
did not mess with him or
Yeah.
his family.
Yeah. Wow.
So
That's pretty interesting. It's a good story. Um, yeah, and it's sure, wow, and I mean, like you said, I mean, you don't think about moving 2 counties over would be that big a deal, but back then, I mean, you're looking at what, a horse and a buggy you're
yeah,
moving to? I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
that's not an easy thing in, Eastern Kentucky to go
Well,
from
you got to
2
remember
counties over.
too, they use those creeks.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you something, my husband's a Texan, and he's so naive. He really is. He's not quite so naive now, but
Uh,
one time I did genealogy, and one of the things is uh, in 1970, my grandfather died,
mhm,
Charlie Roberts, and he was the most important person in my life.
mhm,
And when he died, I was devastated, and I was an out child. And so I said, "Oh, I just don't know nothing about my family." And Max said, "Well, get started." And I thought, "Well, how are they going to react to that?" And he said, "Doesn't matter. Start with your granddaddy, who you love so much." And
mhm,
so I started doing genealogy. And every summer or anytime I had vacation, I would go and I would interview people. And I
mhm.
and I would ask them to kind of like what you're doing, ask them
Yeah.
about the old ones and what they were doing, how they lived and different things like that. And so I found that so interesting about the family that, I just got so involved in it. And I've written about, I don't know, I think I've written 14 genealogy books. You
Wow.
name the family I've met, the Couch
Uh-huh.
family, that
Yeah.
they're from Clay County. And
Mhm.
I'm from the Couch family too, and they come from Martin Couch, and so we're all kin. Anybody in Clay County, they're kin, one way or another.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just the
Yeah.
way that it is.
Yeah. And that's good. It's great that, well, like you said, that sometimes those things happen. Something happens in your life, and you really want to dig in and find out about your family's history, and
Yes.
you figure out where you came from. And
Hmm.
there's loads of stories you can find. Um,
Yes, they now my grandmother Odie Gay Sizemore, she wouldn't tell me anything hardly because I'd go visit her. She lived to be 100. I went to visit her one summer and I was asking all these questions. Well, I was really asking about Jimmy Roberts, and because
mhm.
it was family that killed him, a first cousin killed him, and or paid to have him killed. And she said, "Child, you don't need to know all that stuff. You just forget that." And I
Mhm.
said, "Well, Grandma, I can't forget it. I'm interested in that. I mean, what happened and all that." And she would never tell me. If it was
Wow.
nasty on the family, she would never talk about it.
Mm.
And,
Yeah.
um, her grandfather, her father was John Gay, and he
Mhm.
had diabetes. And he'd come courting uh, America, Roberts's daughter, but he fell in love with America, and she was about 14 years older than him,
Oh,
and her husband was dead, so he married her
wow.
instead of the daughter. And they didn't like that. Some people didn't, but I thought,
Yeah.
good for her. She was a pretty
Yeah.
woman. Anyway, he died when my grandmother was 5 years old. He was a mail person, and he fell off
Mhm.
the mail hack and got hurt himself and got infection and died. But his father, Jesse, comes back also to the Revolutionary War, veteran, Henry Gay. And so, I'm kin to about every family member that there is in Clay County, you know. And
Yeah.
I still get involved, even though I'm in Texas. It made me so mad when uh, they uh, took that uh,
Cemetery.
cemetery, that I fought that tooth and nail, because I thought, what kind of sorry people. I never would have thought that people would do that. And I
Mhm.
said, I hope those graves, that those people haunt them and everything. And my mother was very, very upset about that. But I
Mm,
still get involved in politics, and my try to. And my
mhm.
mother said, Linda May, she said, if you, I said, I wish I lived in Clay County. I'd run for office, and I'd clean that place up. And she said, you'd get yourself killed. She said, hey, she said, to this day, you don't mess with those people down there. And that's right. I take my gun when I go down there.
Uh-huh.
But,
Oh.
but the same things happen here. When I was justice of the peace, a
Mhm.
man that I had arraigned in jail didn't like what I was doing, didn't like it. And he called up one day when I was at court, and I had a room full. I bet I had 150 people in there.
Mhm.
And the clerks would just tell everybody, this man called and said, where is your court? Of course, they tell him, because, they're
Yeah.
coming to court. But he said, I'm coming to kill your judge.
Mm.
So, of course, they called the police, and the
Uh-huh.
police went out. And sure enough, that idiot was on Highway 287, the main road, with the
Mhm.
rifle, ready to do me in.
Wow.
And he went to jail, you know.
Uh-huh.
So Clay County is no worse than any, you know, if I could be
Yeah.
there,
Yeah.
I'd be there.
Yeah. Yeah. We'd like to thank Linda Sibley for coming on the show and talking about her family's history. Thank you all for listening, and we'll see you next time.